Tag teams are a mainstay of current WWE programming and have always had an important place on the roster. The current tag division of WWE is packed and has a number of talented wrestlers teaming up to compete for the titles. Throughout history, however, there have been numerous talented tag teams which were not able to stay together and had to break up due to an injury to one of the members. These splits were either temporary in nature, but in some unfortunate cases, they were permanent and the talent never got back together to team up again. So here are 10 tag teams that had to break up due to a major injury. One of the biggest tragedies in WWE's history is the injury suffered by Tyson Kidd. Kidd was an extremely talented wrestler who was navigating the WWE mid-card in the singles scene after his partner Harry Smith left the company. Cesaro and Kidd teamed up for an extremely impressive and effective tag team, who even managed to win the titles at one point. Their unique strength and athletic-based offense allowed them to be one of the teams that caught the eye. This all came to an end when Kidd was hit by a muscle buster from Samoa Joe in a dark match, and something went wrong and Kidd suffered a horrifying life-threatening injury. The injury not only brought an abrupt end to his tag team, but it also ended his career and forced him to ultimately retire from wrestling. Currently, Kidd works with WWE as a producer backstage. When the team of Ryback and Curtis Axel was first formed, it seemed like there were great things destined in their future. The two had teamed up and had several amazing matches, but more than that, their manager was Paul Heyman, who was known for backing the best wrestlers. The particular team went wrong though, and the two did not last too long. Ryback needed hernia surgery, so the team came to an end in August of 2014. The big guy came back to continue his run with the company, while Curtis Axel slowly faded from the scene, seemingly just being used as a jobber until recently being brought back to be a part of the Miztourage with Bo Dallas. The Rojo Brothers were a promising tag team, well known in the wrestling industry in the 80s. They came to WWE in 86 and even won the tag titles in a house show, though that title change was not recognized by the WWE. The Rojos had a good feud with the Hart Dynasty, though they officially never won the tag team titles in WWE. Another one of their notable feuds were against the Rockers in 89, before they became a comedic tag team who faced opponents like the Bushwhackers. Raymond Rougeau had always suffered from chronic back pain, and had to retire from it in 1990, bringing the tag team to an abrupt end. Their promise as a team remained unfulfilled, as Raymond worked as an interviewer for WWE, while Jaquez came back to the company rebranded as The Mountie. Though technically not a tag team, Shawn Michaels and Triple H's D-Generation X faction with Rick Rude and Chyna was one of the top teams in WWE at that time. Being extremely popular among fans, they helped usher in the Attitude Era right alongside the likes of Steve Austin, Mankind, and The Rock. Their consistent ability to entertain the fans with something new each week also provided for great television, even while the more traditional-minded wrestlers and fans fumed. Shawn was the obvious arrogant leader of the team, but he was working with fatigue and drug abuse at that time. In a coffin match with The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels fell back first, and this caused him to herniate 2 separate discs in his back and completely crush one. He continued to wrestle through the pain and went on to face Austin at Mania. He lost the title to Austin on the grandest stage of WWE after a spectacular match was given, although he effectively retired from WWE following the loss to recover from his injuries, while Triple H changed the entire look of the faction by himself. Shawn would come back, however, in 2002, where he discovered that he was still able to wrestle despite suffering from chronic back pain. He went on to compete in singles matches, but teamed with Triple H's DX again, this time as a tag team. They had another run as D-Generation X, though less successful than the previous one, before HBK finally retired from wrestling following his famous feud with The Undertaker. This team did not last long at all, as Jericho and Edge teamed up at the Bash pay-per-view in a surprising move to win the WWE Tag Team titles. Jericho had competed earlier that night when he had lost the Intercontinental title to Rey Mysterio. The then general manager of SmackDown, Theodore Long, was being pressured by Vince McMahon to improve the quality of the show. He decided to make the match between Legacy and the Colognes for the Unified Tag Team titles in a triple threat match, teaming together Edge and Jericho. Edge managed to hit the spear during the match and picked up the win for his team. Unfortunately for him, shortly after winning the titles, just as it looked as though Edge and Jericho were going to have a great run as a tag team, Edge suffered an injury. This led to Jericho getting rid of Edge as a partner and taking on Big Show. The team of Jericho and Edge was short-lived, but it had the potential of being an amazing team. While their potential as a tag team was lost, this opened the door for them to become enemies as they fought over the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania, after Edge made his return from injury. Another team that ended way too soon was the team of Stone Cold and Dude Love. Mick Foley and his comedic Dude Love persona was the literal opposite of the extremely real and serious Stone Cold, and them being teamed together made for some comedic greatness. Stone Cold had refused Mankind's help for the match against Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, but Dude Love came to help anyway, as Steve Austin needed him in the handicap match situation. The two won the tag titles and became partners for a short while. It was very funny, and it seemed to be something that the fans really appreciated. However, the two would never be able to defend their titles, as Austin was heading into SummerSlam in a feud with Owen Hart. He would go on to win the match, but not before he had been seriously injured with a broken neck due to a pile driver. This move temporarily paralyzed the Rattlesnake, and he had to relinquish his hold of the IC and Intercontinental titles. Eminem had the potential to be the next Hardy Boys or even Edge and Christian. Johnny Nitro, better known as John Morrison, and Joey Mercury, together with their manager Melina, were a force to be reckoned with in the tag team division. The two spent an entire year as a tag team, during which they won the titles in their debut match against Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. They would go on to lose the titles to Heidenreich and Road Warrior Animal, although they did win the titles 2 more times. Involved in some high-profile feuds, Eminem were built for greatness, and they were 2 of the best heels on the roster. The fans hated everything about them, whether it had been their flashy gear, their obvious arrogance, or their even diva-resembling attitudes. Unfortunately for them, they could not last long as a team. Mercury and Nitro did not get along well backstage, and on top of that, Mercury was suspended for a wellness policy violation. It looked like they were coming back once again when they teamed up to face the Hardy Boys. In a 4-way ladder match with the Hardys, Mercury was horribly injured after being struck by a ladder across the face. He suffered a broken nose and even needed stitches. The injury was the final straw, and after a couple more matches, the two officially and finally disbanded. The most recent incident on this list, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose were getting along just fine in 2017, till Ambrose suffered a torn bicep. The injury came as a huge blow for the team, as Seth and Dean were in the middle of a tag team feud with Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles. They had also just reunified the Shield, which now seems like it's come to an end due to the injury. While it's certain that Seth and Dean will be able to team up again when Dean comes back, it looks like it won't be for a while the Lunatic Fringe is out for 8 to 9 months. Dean and Seth have a history together that dates all the way back to FCW. Even after Seth betrayed the entirety of the Shield, they were able to come together and compete as a team and win the tag team titles. As of now, it is not certain when they will team up again when Dean returns. Even though there really isn't a reason not to, 9 months is a long time and a lot can happen in that time span. But who knows, Dean could also come back early. And another recent breakup, DIY splitting up, broke the hearts of wrestling fans everywhere. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano teamed up to form DIY and looked extremely good together. They were able to put on show after show, which left them as one of the most beloved tag teams on the roster. They won the NXT Tag Team titles from the Revival, though they eventually lost them at the next takeover to the Authors of Pain. They would be unable to get the titles back at either of the following takeovers. After they lost to the Authors of Pain at Chicago in a ladder match, Ciampa suddenly turned on Gargano. The turn was sudden and left fans with broken hearts. They were split up by WWE as Ciampa was suffering from an injury and needed time off television to heal. The team of Stone Cold and Triple H was intimidating to say the least, as they went on their way in WWE in their quest to win all the gold. Stone Cold held the WWE Championship, and Triple H held the IC title as they both teamed up. They even won the tag team titles from the Brothers of Destruction of all teams, and the newly heel Stone Cold and Triple H went on a rampage in WWE. They feuded with the Brothers of Destruction, but it was during a match against Chris Benoit and Jericho, with their fate being decided. Triple H misstepped and tore his left quadricep in a career-threatening injury. He completed the match in a heroic effort despite not being able to put any weight on that leg at all. The two split up on screen so that Triple H could take the year off to heal from his injury. And these were 10 tag teams that had to break up due to major injury. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Hub, and I will see you later with more wrestling videos.